I've like kind of got to cheat a little bit. I already got a pretty good legacy going because I have my name on the moon now.
That's cool.
They made this big cool plaque. It has all of our names on it, and so I built a machine that landed my name on the moon, and I'm super proud of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. How are you doing? That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. We need that kind of sound in the YouTube spheres because then Hexagon has more people like, oh, wow, this Hexagon event was awesome. There were so many people, right? So before we jump into the recording here, I do want to take a quick minute. Can I get a round of applause from you guys for Adam and William Grant, our team from Hexagon that put this together? So when Adam Redford came to me and said, hey, we want to try this thing out in Tempe called Shop Floor Soda, I was very hesitant because it sounded like it was going to be a sales pitch and a 3-hour sales pitch at that. And I wanted nothing to do with the 3-hour sales pitch. And he said, no, actually, I don't want it to be salesy at all. I want this to be something where we are building communities in every city that we take this event to. And I said, now you have my attention. So they worked tirelessly to identify Tempe, Nashville, now Dallas, and 2 to 3 maybe future cities between the end of this year, where we are conducting these kinds of sessions and having these kinds of conversations, understanding what local communities need. Because it's one thing to have a podcast and talk about the issues and be a talking head. It's a whole nother to engage with the local communities that we are a part of and that we need to understand in order to really help move this industry forward. So again, Hexagon, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Also, can we get a round of applause for our bartender, our server staff, the videographer for his side in traffic for way too long. So really want everybody, thank you very much. This has been a great event so far. With that being said, hello and welcome to the Manufacturing Connector. This is the YouTube show where we talk about technology. Most of the time we have demos that are done on the show. If you haven't seen it before, go check it out. There's everything from hardware to software. Everything is demoed. We take the sales out of sales and just give people the information that they need to know for the applications that they're trying to solve. This episode's going to be a little bit different because we're not doing demos up here, but we are going to talk about technology and the impact that technology has had on your roles, on your facilities, on your people's lives within your shop walls. Like play? You three?
Deal.
All right, let's do it. All right. I like that kind of energy, Andy. So my icebreaker for the show is weird, but you guys have to answer it anyway. And I didn't prep any of you three on this. If your shop had a mascot, what would that mascot be?
So this is funny. I was literally just talking to Alex Lee about this. There's 3 different companies up here. There's Firefly, Lockheed, and Caterpillar. 2 of the 3 are bugs. You're missing your 3rd bug. You need a 3rd bug company. Unfortunately, you're not a bug company.
Yeah.
So ours is obviously, it is a Firefly. Yeah, 100%. A bunch of our flight patches have the Firefly on it too. The Firefly has a name. I forget what his name is. But we just like lovingly refer to it as the bug. That's the bug. Whenever you see that logo slapped on something, there's our bug. So yeah, it's
what's the symbolism behind the Firefly?
Yeah. So there's two that I know of. So Firefly Aerospace, the name of the company. If you guys ever watch science fiction shows or anything like that, there's the Firefly TV show.
Yeah.
And that was actually a really big inspiration. I think it comes from the original owner, Mark Percusic, is the one who did that. And then the color, the green, is actually what the rocket engines look like when they start up. So part of like the whole spin start of the rocket engines is to throw a bunch of T-TEP into the engines. It's a pyrophoric liquid, and it flashes off Firefly green.
Got it. Awesome. Andy, what about you?
I'm really glad you took a minute because it gave me a chance to say
Well, too bad, Mr. Lockheed, Mr. Martin got this guy.
Well, no, the question was, if we had a company, if I had a company, what would the logo be?
Yeah.
Or the mascot.
Mascot.
You know, given I've been talking about speed to Joe, and I'm going to have to say it's a puma.
Oh,
Very nice.
I like it.
Like
I like
that?
it.
Yeah. I just thought
That's
it's got to be a caterpillar. A crawly.
yeah, but transition, right?
Yeah. Growth, revert, all the
Yes.
things. So, just because this is a different recording than the one we did earlier, you, Fernando, start off with you down there. Quick introduction, who you are, and why you're on stage with us today.
Fernando Castaneda. I'm a SPM Oil and Gas, which is a Caterpillar company, and I'm a quality manager.
Awesome.
So, Andy Mears, Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control, and I lead what we like to call the Intelligent Factory Integration team.
My name is Chase Auker. I work for Firefly Aerospace. I'm a quality metrologist specializing in portable CMMs, laser trackers, arms, and I build rocket ships and spacecraft.
Cool. And your LinkedIn profile, the title underneath is pretty amazing.
I think it's a laser beam rocket scientist or something like that. Yeah,
That is exactly
it's a little far snippy, but it's fun. I personally like to lean into the like whole rocket science joke a little bit more than like some other people do, because it's just really fun. And it's always a great conversation starter too. And everyone says like, oh hey, what do you do for work? And you're like, I build rocket ships. And they're just like, I'm sorry, what? Like you automatically have the coolest job, no matter where you go or anything like that. So,
I believe that was exactly how the conversation, the introduction I had with you last summer in Vegas at Hexagon Live. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm a rocket scientist.
I'm a
No,
rocket scientist.
what?
yeah.
Awesome. So, guys, first question that I want to ask you three is specifically around technology and the before and after. Can you name one piece of technology on your floor that really dramatically changed the dynamic of the floor? And so what was it like before? What was a piece of technology? And then what was the result, or what was the floor like afterwards?
Yeah, I'm okay starting that one off. I mean, for me, so I've been at Firefly for about 3 years. That's kind of where like my real like big level of manufacturing experience comes from. And when I had first started at Firefly, I did not know what a laser tracker was or what a portable CMM was. Those were completely foreign concepts to me. And so I had seen somebody doing it, like operating a laser tracker they were scanning like a rocket fuselage. And it's like a very like mysterious and arcane looking art, just as somebody just like quite literally like waves some magic ball in the air. It just spits out some beautiful number about how great everything is. And I had seen that and I was like, that is cool. That looks like laser beam rocket science. And I want to be a part of that, whatever that is. And so for me, like that was just this like mind-blowing experience to see what that kind of technology could do. And I leaned into that. I learned it and I got proficient with it. And again, like that technology has just become so smooth and so slick to integrate now. I was able to pick it up on my own pretty quick and grow with the needs of the company. And now I'm doing all these awesome things and working on all these different kinds of spacecrafts. And so that was really like an eye-opening experience for me seeing that. So yeah, just that piece of technology, awesome.
Yeah,
Super awesome.
Andy, what about you?
I'm sitting here thinking through this. I
Wanna
guess
go on to Fernando?
in keeping, I guess, with the metrology theme, and one thing I failed to mention, earlier was I've spent 12 years with Hexagon metrology and then manufacturing intelligence and production software. But so I'm very familiar with the product lines, and I would say that by and large, really the 3D metrology applications, everything you're talking about, are probably as game-changing or more game-changing than just about anything else that's out there. There's a lot of stuff going on, but certainly in the metrology space, that's clearly, we've seen sensor technology change rapidly, from where it was when it first came out to what it's capable of today. Yeah, I think that, particularly in the measurement space, is definitely the game changer.
Fernando?
Yeah, for me, same. I mean, the quality, this for 20 years.
You like green, right?
That's the call.
I've asked engineers before, I'm like, what would you do if we did not have laser beams to measure stuff? And they're like, oh, dude, I have no idea. They're like, people used to measure this with rulers and scales? How would you even do that? Plumb bobs? Like, what is that? And I'm like, you guys would be so boned without this stuff. There's no way.
Absolutely. Andy, I've got a very specific question for you. This comes from something that you posted about on LinkedIn. It's the investment amount that Lockheed has made in digital transformation efforts. It was an astronomical number. I don't really exactly remember that number, but it was on one of your more recent posts on LinkedIn. Why has Lockheed invested so much in digital transformation? What is the impetus behind that?
Well, if you look at a company like Lockheed, there's a lot of historical perspective around all of that to begin with, but in a word, it's relevance. The landscape out there is full of what we like to call disruptors. They're bringing stuff to market quickly. They're challenging us in every way, shape, and form. And so, it's not a choice; it's an imperative for Lockheed. And to, again, the historical perspective behind this, and it's not just Lockheed, it's other legacy aerospace firms like Lockheed look like they do today as a result of the consolidation in the defense industry over the last 40 years, at least. And so, what you see that we're working through at the moment is a company that exists as a compilation of a number of companies that literally at one time were in competition to each other. And so you have all these systems in place, and you have all these ways of doing business, and all of these, IT systems, and the way they run their business, and everything about it that are remnants of what I'm describing to you. And so the only way we're going to compete and be relevant is to transform. And so we talk about digital transformation, but it's a business transformation. It's a digital transformation. It's from top to bottom. Yeah.
So in an industry where I think the latest stat I saw was 65%, maybe it was 70, but it's in between that range. Digital transformation efforts actually fail. How have you been able to get these to stick?
Oh, I don't have the statistics, but I wouldn't doubt that ours are very similar to that.
Okay.
I talked about it not being a build it and they will come proposition. We've had a lot of lessons learned along the way in terms of, we like to say there's a difference between deployment and adoption. And the adoption piece is, we're good at the technology and the technology insertions, but it's the other stuff that we struggle with. There's the change management piece of that, and we can talk a lot about all of those kinds of things. But we struggle with the same things. We do. An interesting thing that I've experienced recently with regard to what I alluded to earlier is happening in the world and the demand that's created. I found that whereas before, in Lockheed, digital transformation is a formal program. It's a funded and formal program like any other program that we have. And we would build and develop things based on, what we perceived to be the need. And we made a diligent effort at collecting the voice of the customer and all those kinds of things. And we deliver something, only to find that it wasn't necessarily exactly appropriate. And, again, it was that adoption piece that we continue to struggle with some. So we've got work to do there. But what I was getting at was with what's happening in the world is that what I just described to you was a push, and now what I'm seeing is a pull. Now this demand is felt all the way down to the shop floor. So whereas before I would say, here, try this. This is really cool. Now they're coming to us going, hey, I've got to find a better way to run my business. I'm managing all of these machines in this shop here. Can you give me this, 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 and this? And we go, sure, we can do that. We have the infrastructure now in place where we can deliver that, and it's actually meaningful because they're asking us for this, and as opposed to us, telling them, here, this is what you do.
Fernando and Chase, kind of a follow-up for both of you. What has your digital transformation efforts been like? Successes, mistakes, failures, etc.
I think from the digital transformation, this where I am, we try to become paperless.
Okay.
Actually, our software is SPM paperless. That's what we're using to run our shops. So we're not only encouraging, I guess being green paper, but we're trying to create digital solutions, help us make faster.
Chase?
Yeah, we've been doing the exact same thing. Digital work instructions, CAD-defined drawings and things like that. Digital is such a cool opportunity. It's like the closest you're going to get from just like pulling something right from your mind's eye and immediately getting it into like a more tangible form. And so naturally, paper is like kind of a slow way to move information around, and it's also really difficult from like a process control perspective too. Like once you release a piece of paperwork onto the floor, it just kind of disappears and filters in and finds itself in a drawer somewhere or something like that. And so, especially in an aerospace environment where like every little step is documented, signed off, agreed on, and all that kind of stuff, the ability to have all that stuff stored in a digital state where it can be redlined and modified and changed and moved. You don't have to like physically locate this piece of paper anymore. Same thing with the like drawings and things like that. Super critical step for just being a more efficient and more process agreeable manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
Necessary.
Fernando, you guys, oil and gas, you make the things that make that industry work. That's a direct quote off of your website. Tell us about, in the O&G world, what does great precision measurement system like for you?
I would say, something that's just reliable. Those are something that we can validate on using those results. I think that's the most important.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there one piece of measurement equipment in your team, in your area, that you just can't do without?
Yeah, we rely on a lot of this that everything is to requirement, of course, standard.
Yeah.
So a lot of our tools, including like CMMs, it's something super important for a firm.
Got it. Andy, what about you? What about Lockheed? What is the process of selecting new metrology or measurement equipment look like there?
Well, based on what I've seen in my experience, it's not the best. We have too many CMMs. Right. And so I'll give you a good example, and I think this is, we were talking about supply chain earlier, I think this is something to think about too for metrology operation. We might have 10 dimensions out of 200 on a drawing that require a certain level of accuracy, right, because of the tolerancing. And so we'll go out and we'll buy a machine for that. We'll run all those parts on all those dimensions on that machine. Instead of getting creative, there's so much other metrology technology out there available, right? Instead of getting creative around how we manage that, how we distribute the load, if you will, and inadvertently, the quality room is always a bottleneck. And so I think there's a lot of strategy that can be applied around how you approach your measurement operations. Do I need a shop full of gauge class machines? I probably don't. Sure, but we're still going out and buying those because we have an unclear assessment of actual utilization of the equipment that we have, and so the natural instinct is, well, let's just buy more. And I think we don't do a great job at really understanding what we need, and again, applying some better strategies around how we manage those measurement operations. Again, 3D metrology. I can be so much faster and so much, better at that. Why would I measure 200 dimensions on this gauge lab machine when I can be quicker in the long run so anyway, I'm kind of going off, but I think there's some work that can be done around that. And there's a place for all of it. Yeah, I think we can be more creative and take advantage of what's available. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, laser trackers are a huge one for me. I really can't imagine trying to do some of the stuff that we do without one of those. I mean, you're talking about trying to get rocket fuselages like straight and plumb, something that's about 6 feet in diameter. I mean, I can stand inside one of those fuel tanks and just the very tippy top of my hair just barely touches the top of that thing. And it's almost 100 feet long. And it's, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 segments or something like that. And then imagine me going to you and being like, hey, make that straight. Make that stand up perfectly straight over 100 feet, a 6 foot diameter cylinder. And then it's going to go like flying.
I couldn't do 100 millimeters.
That's what they all say. So, yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it without that. And again, I teased that earlier too, right? Like, asking engineers like, hey, what would you do if you didn't have a laser tracker here? And they're just like, pray, I guess, hope it just came out right.
Yeah. So one of Fernando, Chase, both of you answered in the previous session that the thing that keeps you up at night is the people, right? Having enough people. What technology have you found that helps you answer the issue that comes with having the right amount of skilled employees on your
So for me, I don't really know that there is a technology that really replaces just good qualified people. In my opinion, I mean, that I would much rather have really, really good qualified people over some kind of like silver bullet technology like that. But I can tell you that the barrier of entry to becoming a subject matter expert in these systems, in these high fidelity metrology systems, the technology is getting so good and it's becoming like so reasonable to pick it up as a layperson that it's just dramatically lowered that barrier of entry. And so now you don't need to have this like crazy career long, like wizard level cleric person who just like understands the super user, understands all the quirks and features of like all these crazy in-depth like old softwares. You can have these like new systems that work like how your smartphone works, that work like how your computer works, your tablet work, and that are very sensible and can be mastered quickly and allow you to get to those deeper like oceans and get you to that higher level a lot quicker than it would have otherwise. So a way lower barrier to entry on the more sophisticated equipment has been super, super helpful for not only me personally, but I think for people going forward.
And maybe I asked, but I appreciate the answer, but maybe I asked the question poorly, which I've been. I'm more thinking not a silver bullet, not a replacement for, but maybe helping get more people in the door. Is there a piece of technology that has helped you recruit and or retain better in your processes? Fernando?
So I would say from my experience is the interface. And so I have had different employees that are good with coding programs that are just code. they can read through the. There's other younger people that they like big buttons, right? And so those are the software involved. That's the piece of this function help make people feel comfortable around the equipment.
Got it.
Yeah, so I mean, the laser tracking stuff is really cool and impressive, right? Like you were teasing me about my LinkedIn profile or whatever. But like, yeah, when you're like holding this like crazy laser thing, or you're doing this like intense 3D laser scan, it just automatically demands everybody's attention. I was scanning a rocket engine in our machine shop the other day, and I was busting out the 3D laser scanner, and there was like not a single person who didn't just like totally rubberneck all the way past, like trying to figure out what that thing was doing and why it was making all these crazy noises and looking like how it did. And so it's instantly a conversation starter, and then a lot of people are interested in it naturally. And then you show them the software, and it kind of clicks with them naturally, and they're able to get up to speed a lot faster on what's going on and where it's at. And they're like, hey, that's really cool, you know? And I was telling you, I think it was in the last session too, about training up some other people.
Yeah.
And that's something that's also like really apparent to them as well, where they see that and they're like, hey, that's really cool. I would like to do that. Is that something I can learn? Can I do that? Absolutely, you can. Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
What about you, Andy? Is there a piece of technology that's helped with recruiting or retention?
Honestly, not that I can think of, but to the conversation here, I did want to mention a couple of things that, you know, so I'm an old school metrology guy, and there's another guy sitting over there in the room that can attest to this. You know, growing up, we in the Brown and Sharp days and everything, we used to talk about microns matter, right? We were selling against ICE and others, and microns matter, and no longer. I mean, it's a level playing field from a pure metrology measurement standpoint, right, in terms of accuracies and so forth. And then it became, well, the software, right? It's all about ease of use, right? And so we were selling that way. We were selling on ease of use and so forth. And I think there's a level playing field there. And we've been talking about all the capabilities and all of that. I think where the gap exists, and then I think your question is to, you know, attracting and retaining talent around this. And I think there's a big challenge for the metrology industry in particular, because these folks don't grow on trees. But I think where the gap exists that needs to be addressed is that, you know, there is something that matters in terms of drawing design intent, right? So you have to be able to interpret those drawings, you know, in whatever form they're conveying that design intent to you in, and understand exactly what to do with that instrument and that software in order to be able to get, you know, the answer that is the correct answer that you can defend, right? And so I think there's kind of a balance here that has to be struck, and I don't know if this goes to your question in terms of whether we can use this to attract talent or not. You know, it's cool. It is that and everything, but I think we got to be careful with some of that at the same time, because again, you know, there's a gap there that has to be filled in terms of understanding exactly what's required and how to have the instrument give you what, you know.
Well, and so to preface, there are no wrong answers.
And that represents the skill set that is harder and harder to find.
Yeah. And so you said something, Andy, just now, and all three of you kind of nodded along. The skill set, the people, finding the people, is hard in the quality on the metrology side, right? Why is there that barrier between the welders? I mean, we have skills gaps in every trade, right? But why is the quality one feel so much wider than the machinists, the welders, etc.?
You know, I'm not sure. I've talked to a bunch of people about that. I think, you know, just speaking with other like engineers at the company, you know, people build rocket engines. And so when you're talking to like the propulsion people and you're like, hey, what was it that got you interested in propulsion? And they were like, I don't know. It was kind of like the blasty end where like all the business happened, in their opinion, right? They're like, well, the rocket engine is where all the cool stuff happens. So I just figured that's what I was going to do. And I don't like really hear that so much from like the quality side of things. Like, again, you can think about turbo pumps. It's like, oh, well, it's the pumpy, spinny thing, and it makes all this pressure and it's all this noise, and there's veins and like all this cool stuff happening. And it like sounds like this very like mechanical problem. And when you talk to people about quality, I don't really hear people being like, oh, well, I chose to do quality because quality was the blasty end of the rocket, right? Like they don't really have that same like perspective about it. And I can tell you too that me growing up, I was always like a very mechanical minded person, loved cars and rocket ships and fighter jets and all that kind of cool stuff, right? But like, was quality ever did that ever even occur to me as like a thing that's a part of that process? Like, no, it was the blasty end of the rocket was what I wanted to work on, you know? And so I happened to fall into quality in pursuit of those things. And I super love it, obviously, but it wasn't like really a super, I just don't know if it's like a super obvious part of that whole process.
Sure. I think for me, I mean, just my experience is I have different employees. Being the quality guy, most of people think that we're like, all right, so
Second this.
So
yeah.
So having that, I guess, edge, like is very common, right? So I don't know a lot of people that they just want to be cops. Right? They want to be the ones that are, flying on the highway, right? Or like, yeah. So I think that's why it's hard. It's the incentive, maybe it's not there because a lot of people see quality roles as police.
Pull that a little bit. Without a doubt, right? I think the quality functions still exist in the organization as an audit. Almost entirely. And I think we have to move that out of the quality rooms. There's a place for the audit, but it needs to be an integral part of production. And it's not enough. It's not that enough, in my opinion. And so I think we do that, and I think we'll attract more people that want to be a part of that process, right? And it's again, it's an integral part of operations. It's ensuring that stuff we ship out the door is right to begin with. But I think it's too much of an audit function.
Yeah, and the other thing to add is, actually, the two places I work, I have seen people that started and then eventually they became, like, they go to the shop. Those are the best. They know what is good, and now is their role to actually make it. Yeah, that's
So is that a new career pathway that we should coin tonight? Is the way to get a better machinist or a better welder is to have them start with quality?
I would suggest it goes both ways.
All right. Well, then you have some empathy too, right? You can put yourself in each other's shoes. I've never been quality engineer at all, quality anything, right? So I don't know the answer to this, but I have been a maker of things, right? I've produced things. I know the level of pride that comes from being that producer, the one that makes the blasty thing, right? Do you see that there's the same level of pride that comes from being a quality engineer in the quality department as there is on the production side?
Yeah, absolutely. All of the quality people that I work with are super dedicated, motivated individuals that take a ton of pride in what they do. And we have people from a lot of different backgrounds at Firefly as well. Some of them come from Apple and things like that. And the quality challenges are, they're like serious problems about part acceptance and categorizing issues into patterns and doing all that kind of fun stuff. And so if you're a really technical minded person, you're going to have an awesome time doing quality. And, you were talking about quality being the fun police. you know. I think there's a lot of like the buck stops here kind of thing with quality too, where we're kind of like the last opportunity or like the last like go a lot of stuff as well. And I've definitely seen too where there's been some like it's really easy to point the finger at quality when something goes wrong too, where they're like, hey, you guys should have caught that, or you guys should have stopped that or seen that coming as well. So I think, you know, maybe sometimes quality people get maybe a bit of a bad rep for that as well, because they're like, well, you're the last one to like stamp it and say it's good, so you know, that's your bad.
What do you think, Andy? Is that same level of pride that machinists, I mean, I've never met a machinist in the world that hasn't thought that they're the best machinist in the world, right? But I have met quality people that don't say, I'm the best quality tech in the world. So is there that same level of pride in quality that exists in production?
I would say yes. I would agree with that. I think there's cases where maybe not so much, but yeah, I think that's a true statement. And again, I think it's those individuals that have the diligence and the mindset about it that we're talking about here. And actually, and I know from my own experience, even, you know, kind of learning in early career, you know, being out on the shop floor and really becoming a partner with those folks that are manufacturing this stuff. Not the guy that's going to reject your stuff. I'm the guy that's trying to understand what you're doing so we can work together to make sure we get this thing done.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that, you know, that makes a difference.
Fernando, anything to add?
Yeah, well, I guess the best approach I have is when we make partner with teams and work towards our manufacturing operations, your quality. And that's a big problem.
Absolutely. Chase, what is one piece of technology, or what has technology afforded you the ability to do that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to, right? There are so many things you talked about lasers and all the things. What are you capable of doing with the technology that you use that otherwise you wouldn't be able to?
Yeah, I mean, I can pretty much measure anything, just about anything, with an extremely high level of precision. And that has, I can tell you just at Firefly, that's given me the opportunity to work on not only just like rocket ships, but also work on like basically buildings and like large physical structures, everything from like the small to the biggest big. And I can tell you with a really high certainty what it is that you've actually got there. And that has afforded me the opportunity to work with the blasting engineers, you know, and like all those kinds of people, and to be in the clean room with the lunar lander and be one of the final people to have a say on, hey, did we actually build the thing that we sought out to build here at the end of the day? Did we actually get the part that we wanted, the product that we wanted? And I can be one of the people to say for sure, yeah, we nailed it. We did. Got it right.
Fernando?
Well, I'm just trying to, you know, I think from the metrology perspective, using the CMMs, that's what how we will use that feedback. Yeah. That's kind of the well, I mean, other tools as well. But I think the important thing is that.
Well, yeah, I'll go back to the 3D scanning kind of topic here, and you know, my son happens to work for Lockheed, and he's in a manufacturing technology team, but he's kind of a metrology guy. And through interactions with some programs that were struggling with parts that were coming in from suppliers, particularly difficult parts to manufacture, they found a way to leverage the arm and the reports and results that they were getting from the scans to basically characterize these parts and salvage things and put them, be able to come up with an assembly process that allowed them to actually keep things moving and salvage, you know, parts that they would have otherwise without that kind of insight into what was really going on. Talk about straightness and roundness and things like that. You know, it allowed them the engineers to understand that better in a way that they could design an assembly process that actually worked, and they could keep things moving without having to scrap material.
All right, so wrapping up, a couple of last questions. Fernando, we'll start with you. What are you most proud of in your work, and what legacy do you want to leave behind?
I think the most thing that I'm proud of is sharing. Because I was helped at some point, so being able to help. And as far as legacy, you know, I guess the only thing that that comes to mind is one guy at my work told me literally like 2 weeks ago, it's like, because of you, now we have a 4th digit on our print. That's your legacy.
That's your legacy. All right. Andy, what about you?
Probably my teams. You know, I've been fortunate, and particularly here at this point in my career, that I have assembled capable, very talented, and are doing some really great work. Probably my proudest accomplishment, and I guess my legacy would be that I did that.
Got it. Chase.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously super proud of being able to build all these awesome like spacecraft and rocket ships that we've done. You know, like the Blue Ghost lunar lander project was just such a dream to work on, and so I've like kind of got to cheat a little bit. I already got a pretty good legacy going because I have my name on the moon now.
That's cool.
They made this big cool plaque. It has all of our names on it, and so I built a machine that landed my name on the moon, and I'm super proud of that. And I know that as I age too, and as gracefully, as I age gracefully. No, as I age into a more, a higher level professional too.
I'll accept that.
I know that the team of people is coming too, because I've already gotten it where I've gotten some other guys under me and gone to work with them, teaching them, and I am super proud to be able to give like that same kind of thing to them and like give them the opportunity to give them the power to do something like put their name on the thing.
I can hear the emotion in your voice, man.
You brought the question up, and I was like, I didn't even think of anything. I just like started choking up because I was just like, I love it so much, and
That's really cool stuff.
You just said you're like, what kind of legacy? And I was like, I feel like I'm gonna cry already. I didn't even like think of anything, and I just like already emotionally charged.
It's an emotional question, right? When people think about what mark they leave on this world, on this industry, on the people around them, on the technology that they've used, it's an emotional question to answer.
Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate you guys being open and honest. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me give my guests here, Chase, Andy, and Fernando, a big round of applause. And thanks.
Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, my question of you, was this a good use of your time this evening? You've been here for 3 hours at this point. We leave the raffle to the end, so we dangle that prize for you at the end. But was this a good use of the last 3 hours of your time? Yeah. Thank you very much. Taking the time out of your day, battling Dallas traffic, all the things that you had to do to get here. Your insight in that first conversation was so very much appreciated. And I'm very thankful that you all are here. That's my emotional moment because showed up, right? They came. So thank you guys very much for being a part of this journey. For those of you watching and listening, get your ass to one of these shows in the future, whenever we come to your town. So thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Thank you guys.